Okay, so today we're going to talk about Canvas Gradebook for face-to-face courses. Our presenter today is Bruce Richards, our Senior Instructional Technologist in the Center for Teaching and Learning. I am your host, Lynn Wall. We will both try to answer any questions that you might have with this, but the recording for this webinar will be available in a couple of days. We do have to wait for it to be captioned before we post it to our YouTube channel. But when it is ready, the link for that will appear in the workshop description on our calendar, and it will also appear for a few weeks on our home page. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Bruce. Okay, Bruce, you should be the presenter now.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can, just give me a check mark. All right, great. Lynn, thank you so much. And I trust everyone is as warm as I am, so I'm going to do my best to push it along as we look at how we can use the gradebook to track the progress and the performance of our students for our face-to-face class. All right, so I'm here. So let me start with my course. So, you know, the Canvas Gradebook is constantly evolving, and even as I speak, as we go through this webinar, they are going to be making or have been making changes, but the good news, where we are now is good, and we'll be able to do a lot. So one of the things that we do find in the face-to-face courses is that we really many times don't know how to use our gradebook because, you know, we use Canvas really as a file repository. We may use it to put links to external sites or articles or journals, but what we're advocating here is that even though the Canvas tool is a learning management system that is probably used a lot for the online course or even for the blended course, it has as much strength for a face-to-face course. So what I've done here is put a couple of things that I'm going to run through. Number one, I want to advocate that your syllabus is just as important in the online realm as it is in your face-to-face class. And how can we utilize that for your face-to-face class to really tie your syllabus to your gradebook? And so we're going to try and understand the gradebook. We're going to understand how we can use it not only for record keeping, but how we can actually track our student work and our progress in our face-to-face classes. And then finally, provide our students with that valuable information. And one of the valuable information or techniques that we always use in a face-to-face that we should use within the online component as an LMS is that there has to be that student to faculty interaction, that student to content interaction, and also that student to student interaction. And those can be critical within the face-to-face class. And finally, the good news, let's breathe a sigh of relief. There is a way that we can submit final grades at the end of the semester by a process of clicks and buttons, but much easier than typing out all 300 students in your class, if you so desire. Just want to give you a nice shout out to Snowy Days. Some dogs have all the fun. So let's get started. I have here a poll that I want you to respond to. So let me go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and click and send. If you can just click on that link and just answer the questions, you can choose up to 5 of those answers. And essentially, I want to know what you think are the critical items that a syllabus or a face-to-face class should have. And while you're doing that, I'll share my other screen where I will be able to see as you respond. So far I have 2, 3 responses, but remember, you can choose up to 5 of those choices. In other words, you can click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The three key components within this is that syllabus, grades, attendance. Should those be class requirements? And if so, is it one or two or all three, or probably none of them is important in your class? All right, I am going to say that most persons, if you have completed, can you give me a checkbox? I'm looking at the participant list on the webinar. So if you can give me a checkbox that you have finished, then I'll know to go ahead. So I have 2 persons out of the 4. Just let me know, Elizabeth and Lane, once you are finished. I do want to give everybody a chance. All right, getting there. Just one more person, and then off we go. Okay, give me a checkbox. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close down. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to stop the poll. And okay, you can still see my screen, so here's the responses. Let me make this a full screen so that you can see it. So we are saying all 3. 53%, nearest, only posting a syllabus and Canvas is required, posting a syllabus and keeping grades is required, attendance is not. Excellent, excellent. All right, so let's get out of this, if I can. There you go. All right, so let me just run over here, next screen. So let's start with the first one, syllabus components. Any syllabus has course goals, objective assessment, feedback methodology, grade distribution, and then we put that as a URL or as a document within Canvas. But what does that have to do with the gradebook? Well, in your assessment, you itemize each of the activities and the grades that go along with it, from discussions to projects to quizzes to assignments, reflection, you name it, whether it's a group, doing peer-to-peer projects, team-based projects, individual projects, whatever it is. At the same time, you have to provide some means of providing feedback to your students. And grade really is a feedback. Plus, you can use annotations on the documents that they have given you. You can use comments. The students can comment back to you. There is where we are using the faculty-to-student interaction. So I advocate that our gradebook should mimic our syllabus. And to do so, what better way than to use the syllabus tool that's posted in Canvas to show what are in the assignments, which then will lead to what is in the gradebook. So let's look at the syllabus tool. So I've made my syllabus tool available to my students. I went ahead and in this fictitious course, you see the syllabus here. The course syllabus, it has the verbiage here from the faculty, Dr. Abraham Lincoln, talking about American history. And then below that are all the assignments, given the date and the due time and the details for each assignment, or should I say assessment, because what I have here is both discussion activity, an assignment activity, quiz activity. And if I so desire, I could use a graded survey. And then to the far right, I have the setup showing how my assignments, in my case, I'm weighting them by groups. And so I have 5 groups here between assignments, discussion, quizzes, extra credits, and something I call a group summary. And the students will see the weight. So if you look from a student side, if I go over to a student side here, So here's my wonderful student. If I click, the student goes into the course and clicks on syllabus. Bingo, they see literally the same thing, but another benefit is that they see the weight distribution based on the gradebook. And by the way, here's a calendar. Again, these dates that are highlighted, these are showing the students that they are due dates, and those are the due dates. So what does this have to do with the gradebook? Remember that the assignment tool is the gradebook setup. So let me go back over to the faculty side. Let's click on the assignments. Remember, we have the group waiting here. Let's click on assignment. And as it comes up, there you go. So I have itemized my assignments. And these are all face-to-face assignments that they're going to hear from me as I present in the class, but they're going to be doing that outside of the class. And while they're outside of the class, I don't know about you, but many times students either forget or they misunderstood a due date and a time and the details on the assignments. Rather than email you that question, they just have to look in the assignment area to see all the information, all worked out and itemized by the various assignment group. And again, the same way that I created this, the grade items have been placed in the gradebook. So let me go back to my modules area. I had the classes assignment requirements that we agreed on, that syllabus is one of those important aspects of our course, of our face-to-face course anyway. And by the way, I think the provost is gently reminding us that we should use grades, whether it's midterms, and especially final grades anyway, but midterms, so that students have the means to know, am I failing or am I being successful, that I know that things are doing well for me as a student. So when the student, let me go back over here to look at the syllabus again. When the student goes into the tool, they're able to see each assignment item and to see how well they're progressing in the course. I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions from anyone, and I'll look in the chat, but Lynn can tell me. If you have any questions, now's a good time. I'll pause based on what I said. If not, okay, so I have, go ahead, Caitlin. You can use your audio or you can use the chat. Okay, so no questions so far in chat. So Caitlin says, can students see their grades on Canvas? The answer to that is yes, as long as you have published all those grade items within the assignment area. Please remember that even though it's called an assignment tool here, all graded activity, that is the assignment, discussion, quiz, and survey, will turn up in the assignment area and then into the gradebook. All right. If there are no questions, then let me move forward to look at the assignment details. So what goes into assignment details? Well, for most of us, you know, we probably grade two ways. We either grade based on points, or in my case, I'm grading by weight. So if it was by points, if you look at the first two columns here, you probably just have a set of assignments, whether it's discussion, quizzes, discussion, quizzes, assignments, or surveys, and then you have your grade, and then the system gives a total at the end. If you're using weights, then you create what we call an assignment group and assign a percentage for that group. Please remember that if you're trying to put a percentage to one assignment, you still have to put that assignment within an assignment group. But if it's multiple, then it holds. Now, this is my assignment details that I would have provided to the students. And so my next suggestion to you is that in the same way that you itemize your assignments or your activities, your graded activity to your students by placing that information in your syllabus, make sure to make your assignments look the same way. So you notice I have the assignment group called assignments, and then I have my two assignments of a discussion group, and so on. If you go into my assignment area, the students will see the same setup. So consistency. So therefore, there's no reason for your students to email you saying, I'm confused, because within your syllabus, your syllabus setup, your assignment setup is the same. Okay? Oh, by the way, you notice that when I use the Syllabus Tool, I copied and paste my content here right in the upper part, and then the course summary itemized all the assignments that I had played in the Assignments Tool and showed the assignment weights on the right side. But let's suppose that you want your students to have a text or a PDF of this. Can I make a suggestion? Log into your course in Canvas, using the Chrome browser, then click on Print, choose PDF, and bingo, it gives a very clear printout of your syllabus. So then you can make that document as it is available as a second option for your students. For those students who probably want a paper, then they can always print it out. So when I went into my modules, and I'll talk about this later, when I made available my modules, I put in the print copy from the syllabus so that when the students looked at a printed copy, it was the same printout as they would have seen in the real course. So there it is. Due dates and time and the details are all there. And they're linked, so they could always click on that if they want to keep the electronic copy. All right, so let me run back. So that is in terms of the assignments. My assignments details are there, and so when I create my assignments, everything is shown, and I can move forward in itemizing each of these. From the faculty side, you may ask, how did I do that? Well, it's quite easy. The first thing is that when I went in the assignments, I went ahead and I clicked plus group. So if I want to add something, I would click plus group, and here I would type the first group called discussions. Once I added all my assignment groups, I then went and I then went and created each assignment by clicking here the plus assignment, or I went in assignments, discussion, quizzes, created there, and as I created there, the link dropped inside of the assignment tool area. Once I have each of the assignments in its respective groups, then I clicked on the gear icon. Remember that the gear icon is your friend. I clicked on the gear icon for the assignments, clicked on this link called Assignment Groups Weight, check this box. The default is looking like this, so I check that box. All my groups appear, and I simply type the percentages as created within the syllabus, and then I click Save. And then once I do that, these percentages turned up. I can then go and do other things that are important. One of the things that are important, please remember, you have to publish all your assignments. Secondly, I put dates in them. for those that are assignments, I also utilize rubrics. Many of us use rubrics, and the rubric option will appear after you have created and saved and published your assignments. And then I added my assignment. And for this one, I made it so that my rubric was going to be used as the tool to do the actual grading. So that, again, is another feedback. I'm not only providing the students with a grade point as a feedback, but I'm going to give them even more details in terms of the criteria that they met to attain a grade out of the total points, in this case, 25. So another set of feedback. And then finally, I do have within the grade area, I'll get to in a minute, I do have the option to add comments and annotations within the document without having to download the document to provide further comments or feedback to my students. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's say I've decided that I'm going to grade one of these assignments. So let's start with this one. So I went into this one. I added the points, the rubric. My students have responded. Here I will see how many students have submitted. I only have one student here, so, and then I can click Speed Grader. And that is another thing in the gradebook, Speed Grader. Excellent tool for you to be able to grade on the fly. Please note that Canvas has a Speed Grader app that's available on the iPad as well as Android devices. It's not on the iPhone, it's on the iPad and above. As well as you can open a browser and get to Speed Grader by clicking on this link. All right, no questions, so let me continue. So here we are. Oh, come on. So here we are with the Speed Grader. And so what are the things available outside of the gradebook is number one, I can do annotations, and the annotations are right here. So you see that I did some annotations as feedback to the student simply by using these annotation tools. Just a highlighter. This is a kind of drawing tool. I can use a block here to draw a box and provide comments. And so on. And then on this side, I can view the rubric, and just by clicking on these boxes, the student will receive a grade. And then below, I save that once I'm finished, and then I go and I add a comment here, and also remember to submit. If you so choose to not use a rubric and you added just a grade, where you just add it, out of 25. So that was the comment submitted for the students. And how does the student see that from the gradebook? Well, they have two choices. They can either click on assignments and click on the actual assignment, or go into grades and see that. Let me take a pause here. I believe someone asked a question. Caitlin said, I apologize. How did you get to your current screen? All right, so let me go back here. Let me close this. So, Caitlin, what I did is that as a faculty in this case, I clicked on assignments. I then decided that, okay, today I'm going to be grading the assignment, which is U.S. Constitution, a closer look. So I click on that link. Once I click on that link to the far right, I see Speed Grader. I click on Speed Grader, and then there I go. Okay, and now I do the annotations and the grades. So now from the student side, the student will be in their course, and they can either go to the assignments or grades, but let me go as a student to grades. This is the screen that the student is seeing, and if this was just recently graded, there would be a blue circle indicating that there's a change. So they can go ahead and click on the link, they will then say, oh, I want to see feedback, so they can click on feedback, and the system will show them exactly, so let me make this bigger. So all the annotations that I had showed would appear right there. If they desire, they can click on this link to download the annotated PDF. Okay, so that's how they would see that. They can also see the rubric. They'll see the comments here. I mean, for them to make comments, they'll see my comments at the top. But they want to see the rubric, they click on Show Rubric, and they will see the highlighted ratings based on each criteria that I had chosen in the grading. So that's 3 types of feedback that the gradebook or the speed grade is providing. There's an annotation, there is a comment, and then there is a rubric that is provided. Okay. Finally, let's go to the gradebook. Gradebook, as I conclude, for every student, there's always that concern, am I doing well or not? And so, one of the things that the gradebook offers is that as a faculty, if you hover over the gradebook item and click on that arrow, there's something called Message Students Who. And based on the criterion that you have chosen, I'm going to choose that I'm concerned with students who have scored, let's say, 20 out of 25. And if that is for me something bad, then those students would turn up. Let me choose something here. Oh, okay. So there's one. One student, let's say that was a bad grade. Then I would say to that student, okay, I want to message you saying, look, I'm concerned, and I'd like to meet with you in my office hours. And when the student gets the email, it's really coming from you to them. If there are other students there, they would not see those students' names. So each student has a very individual email sent back to them. There are other options as well. You can, as a faculty, be able to click on, and you're able to see this context card where you can see, oh, you know, for this student, they had 1 item late, none missing, but they have a grade of A. And if you hover over each item, you will know what the assignments are. You also see participation based on their discussion or assignments or the quizzes and page views. Are they really looking at Canvas? And so that is available for all the students that you have this information, this 1, 2 missing. There's also analytics that you can delve deeper down into the course based on those students. So that is the gradebook in a nutshell, and how you can incorporate both from a syllabus side, the assignment side, and please remember, you can use your assignments as your attendance. In that case, it's a manual process. You create an assignment tool that is no submission, and you are able to tabulate the grade based on students' attendance in your course. I'm going to stop here as the time has been reached. All right, so let me go ahead and answer this question. How can students see the letter grade connected with point grade? Just notice you have letter grades next to points, previous screen. Also, could you show it and how that rubric pops into the speed grader panel? All right, so let me answer that quickly. Letter grade and rubric. So letter grade, by default, all courses are assigned a grading scheme. And once you're assigned a grading scheme and you have created your assignments, which then in turn create the grade item, that letter grade is automatically added right there. So you have to do nothing. The system assigns a grading scheme, and once you put the assignments in and grade those grade items, the letter will appear automatically. Nothing to do. It's the percent letter grade I'm wanting per assignment. Oh, you can do that as well by saying, how do I want my assignments to show the grade. And in this case here, I chose, let's see, let me edit this very quickly. I chose to display my grade as points, but you can choose to say letter grade. So the option is there for you to either points, letter grade, and there are others as well. I try to be consistent, so for my grade items, I use points, but again, I can use letter grade. All right. In terms of the assignment, let me just create a quick assignment. So when I create an assignment for the first time, I'm just going to create this assignment, not to worry. I save and publish. Always remember to save and publish. There are many times students complain, oh, I can't see X assignment, many times because the assignment has not been published. Now, once the assignment has been saved and published, at the bottom there is a plus rubric. What I like about the rubric tool is that as you create rubrics within courses, many courses that you have, you will have access to it. So there you can see different courses that I'm in. I have these rubrics, and all I need to do is to choose a rubric. Mine is out of 50, this is out of 15. I'm going to use it and tell the system to make the change afterwards. And there you go. So once I've added the discussion rubric, that rubric will now appear automatically. Let me go over to rubric. Will now appear automatically as a link called View Rubric. So there you go. The rubric will appear automatically. All right, so that's one question. Sometimes the composite tally of missing assignments don't actually reflect what's in gradebook. Maybe it's a labeling thing. Not sure I'm understanding of missing assignments. And are you saying missing assignments from the students or from the faculty? Can you give me more information there? As we're waiting, any other question? Again, you can use your audio. Sometimes grade is in gradebook, but not in composite. And Lane, what do you mean by composite? As long as the grade is here, you're there, but I mean, once it's there, that grade item is in the gradebook. And if that is not so, not sure what's happening there. So maybe we can, if you can send me a email afterwards. Oh, I see in your analysis. Muted assignments. All right, so we're running through a lot of things there. So let me run over to Gradebook. So great question. For those who don't know, have you ever in that situation you have 25 students, one of them being Bruce? You grade your first student, that student speaks to Bruce, and Bruce looks in his gradebook and says, wait a minute, I don't see grade. It never dawns on Bruce to say, maybe not yet, but no, Bruce goes ahead because he's an eager student. And he emails you saying, I'm not seeing my grade, and everybody else has been graded. What's happening? Well, to minimize those questions, first, you click on the item in the gradebook, and there's an option here called Mute Assignment. Mute Assignment means do not send the students any notification until you have finished grading, made grade notifications, grade change, submission comments, curving assignments, score change notifications. And so once I mute that assignment, from the student side, they will see that that grade item will say the faculty is working on the assignment. As a matter of fact, you'll notice here that has kind of disappeared. But at the bottom it says, your instructor is working on grades, comments are unavailable. Good. So therefore, student won't know. You go through and you grade all 25 students, you make some change, modification, comments, rubric changes, what have you. And then once you are assured that everything is finished, then go back to the gradebook, hover, click on drop-down arrow, click Unmute Assignment. And now when you unmute assignment, all 25 students receive an email at the same time. Hence, no more emails saying, why have I not been graded? So that's an awesome thing. Now, muting assignment, please, is not a recipe for saying, oh, I don't want to use it, oh, I want to hide it, oh, I'm no longer interested in it. Because muting assignment changes the real grade of your student, and when final grades come about, if you still have items muted, they will affect the students negatively when that grade is pushed over to Banner. So please, 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 do not use muting for hiding. Use muting because you want to suppress notification to your students until you have fully graded all items. So I have here that in terms of submitting final grades to Banner, we have an FAQ that says, that is called, how can I upload final grades from Canvas to Banner? And that is faq.uncc.edu, and then you can put in the search box, upload final grades from Banner. You'll get this page, and it will walk you through. And as shown here, that link will appear near to midterms and near to final for you to submit grades from Canvas to Banner. I would just want to let you know also that we do have what we call outcomes and rubrics, and that talks about mastery of assignments to your students. And in the gradebook, when you turn that on, you have the grade tab, but you also have a learning mastery, and that learning mastery, if I hover over, will let your students know how well they have done in terms of mastering the content based on a score of 0 to 5. So that is something that you can utilize in your class. Again, if you check the FAQ, or if you click on the help button here in Canvas, there is a search Canvas guide that I would encourage you to do and put in there mastery grade, and that will give you great information on implementing mastery grade. All right, looks like must have all grades in before students analysis will give credit. That is correct. Well, we have completed the session. I trust that information was helpful to you. I want to thank you all for coming, and you know how to get to us. Just email us at help@uncc.edu, and we will work with you on questions. All over to you, Len.
Attending, our upcoming webinars are here listed on the screen. We've got Canvas quizzing. Using Canvas quizzing over Poll Everywhere, that's another workshop delivered by our fabulous Bruce Richards. We have some information on universally designed instructional material, and our mid-semester feedback toolkit, which I will be presenting along with one of our really awesome faculty fellows, Tracy Brock, providing some help for you on how to design surveys and evaluations to get some feedback from your students on your courses at that mid-semester mark, so that you can actually make changes while you're still with your students in class. So we encourage you to sign up for those over on our calendar on the CTL website. But otherwise, I hope that you all have a fabulous day. And I'm going to stop the recording, but Lane, you are welcome to ask your next question.